First of all, thank you. Thank you very much for being here this morning. I think you picked the right panel, the right session, due to the importance of the topic, obviously, but also due to the caliber of the speakers, panelists, who will be sharing their insights, experience with us today here. I am Dr. Youssef Brouzine. I am the regional representative of the International Water Management Institute, IMI, in the Middle East and North Africa. And I will be coordinating this panel, which is brought to you by the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation in Egypt in collaboration with the International Water Management Institute. The title of this panel, as you can see, is about nature-based solutions for sustainable water systems. Before to share with you the background of this session, I would like to invite the distinguished panelists and speakers to join me on the stage. So I'll call His Excellency Ambassador Birek Arin to join me on the stage, please. I will call Mr. Naufel Telahig to join me on the stage as well. Mrs. Laura Birkman and Professor Zhang Chaloy. We expect also to have His Excellency Mr. Buba Sanyang, so he will join us during this session, hopefully. So as I said, this session is about nature-based solutions for sustainable water systems. And as we all know, NBS or nature-based solutions are emerging as a powerful, cost-effective, and multifunctional tools for addressing water-related challenges while delivering co-benefits for biodiversity, climate mitigation, and community well-being. From restoring wetlands and protecting watersheds to implementing green infrastructure in urban areas, NBS offer holistic approaches that work with nature rather than against it to enhance the resilience and sustainability of water systems. Despite their potential, the integration of NBS into mainstream water policy and planning remains limited by gaps in financing, governance, and technical capacity. So in this session, we will explore successful models, challenges, and opportunities for scaling nature-based solutions in water management, especially in the context of climate change and water scarcity. So the key objective of today's panel is about understanding how to advance. And we have Mr. Buba. Thank you. Please join us. So the key objective is to advance understanding and application of nature-based solutions in water management by showcasing practical examples from the world, enabling policies and innovative approaches that strengthen climate resilience and ecosystem services. So the session is about sharing practical experiences, successful cases, but also ongoing work from different dimensions, different perspectives, but also different parts of the world that will definitely benefit the Middle East, North Africa region and other regions with the similar water and climate context. So I will stop here and I will share with you the flow of this session. So there will be a keynote talk by His Excellency Ambassador Birek Arin, and then we will listen to our colleagues sharing with us their perspectives from different parts of the world and different angles of interventions. There will be, of course, a discussion with the panelists that I will start in the beginning with a few questions, and then we will look forward, of course, to interact with the audience and also listen to the audience and learn from the experience of each other. So I am very pleased and honored to call His Excellency Ambassador Berik Arin to deliver his keynote talk. Under your applause, please.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good morning. It's both an honor and privilege to join this distinguished assembly for what promises to be a pivotal dialogue on nature-based solutions for sustainable water systems. Allow me to express my profound gratitude to the Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation of the Arab Republic of Egypt for exemplary leadership in convening this session. I also extend my deepest appreciation to the government of Egypt for hosting the 8th Cairo Water Week, which has truly established itself as a premier regional platform for addressing the most pressing challenges at the nexus of water, climate, and sustainable development. This year's theme, Innovative Solutions for Climate Resilience and Water Sustainability, could not be more timely and urgent. Distinguished delegates, today's focus on nature-based solutions comes at a critical time. Across the MENA region, we face unprecedented water challenges. Climate change is making droughts longer and floods more severe. Water scarcity is threatening our food systems and the livelihoods of millions of people. As OIC specialized institutions, IFS recognizes the inseparable link between water and food security. In regions such as Middle East, North Africa, the Sahel, and parts of Central and South Asia, climate change has made water management one of the defining challenges of our time. Our programs, therefore, place a strong emphasis on the water-food-climate nexus, integrating nature-based and innovative solutions within agricultural systems. For example, in Central Asia, IFS supports initiatives promoting efficient irrigation technologies, soil moisture conservation, and sustainable land management practices in irrigated zones to combat land degradation and restore ecosystems balance. In North Africa, IFS works with national partners and regional organizations to strengthen wheat production systems, improve water use efficiency, and support seed system development and farmer capacity building. And in cooperation with partners such as ICARDA, IUAD, ISDB, and UN agencies, IFS is developing frameworks to mainstream ecosystem-based approaches into agricultural planning and water management. These efforts demonstrate how investing in nature can directly enhance food production, water efficiency, and climate adaptation, simultaneously addressing multiple sustainable development goals. Dear participants, however, as rightly noted in this session's concept, the irrigation of nature-based solutions into mainstream water policy remains limited. The reasons are clear: insufficient financing, fragmented governance, and technical capacity gaps. To overcome these barriers, IFS strongly advocates for multi-sectoral partnership, linking ministries of water, agriculture, environment, and finance, so that nature-based solutions become part of national investment priorities rather than isolated pilot projects. We also encourage our partners to explore innovative financing models, such as blended funds and climate-smart agriculture investment frameworks, that can channel both public and private capital into nature-based solutions implementation. However, we must be honest about the challenges we faced. Our experience across OIC member states shows three main barriers to scaling up nature-based solutions. First, financing remains difficult. Even so, nature-based solutions provide many benefits. they struggle to attract investment. We need new financing models that recognize the full value of healthy ecosystems. Second, governance is fragmented. Water management is often separate from agriculture and environmental planning. We need integrated policies that bring these sectors together. Third, we need more capacity building. Many of our member states need technical expertise to design and implement nature-based solutions at scale. This is why IFS launched the Food Security Innovation Network to share knowledge and best practices across OIC countries. Dear colleagues, Egypt's leadership in hosting Cairo Water Week demonstrates how nature-based solutions can become part of national development strategies. Projects like Al Muruna, supported by International Water Management Institute, show how traditional water management can be enhanced with modern technology. IFS is ready to replicate and scale these successful Egyptian models across OIC member states through South-South cooperation, ensuring that proven solutions reach the communities that need them most. Distinguished colleagues, in conclusion, let me emphasize that the link between water innovation and food security is not just a technical challenge. It's a moral responsibility that requires our urgent coordinated action. The nature-based solutions we discussed today are more than environmental projects. They represent our commitment to communities whose lives depend on healthy ecosystems and reliable water access. Let me commit today to mainstream these solutions into our water governance, bridge the financing gap, and build a shared legacy of sustainability for future generations. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, for the very inspiring words and also for sharing your vision, the vision of IFS when it comes to nature-based solutions, integration, role, but also challenges in the region. And you are covering a very interesting region, big region, with a lot of potential, of course, but also challenges to which nature-based solutions can bring, of course, part of the answer. And also thank you for sharing your perspective when it comes to the roadmap to overcome these challenges through the right finance models and also international and multilateral cooperation. Thank you very much. And my apologies for omitting to presenting you, but it's not too late. So His Excellency, the Ambassador Berik Arin is the Director General of the Islamic Organization for Food Security since 2024. So prior to this role, His Excellency served as Kazakhstan's Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary to Saudi Arabia, Permanent Representative to the OIC, and non-resident Ambassador to Bahrain. He holds degrees in philology and Oriental Studies, law, and master degree in regional studies from leading Kazakh universities, with a distinguished diplomatic career spanning key ambassadorial positions in Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. He has officially presented Kazakhstan in numerous international organizations, including ISESCO, the League of Arab States, and the African Union. It's a pleasure to have you here today, Your Excellency. Thank you very much. Now we will listen to His Excellency Mr. Buba Sanyang, who is the Permanent Secretary at Ministry of Fisheries, Water Resources, and National Assembly Matters in Gambia. Previously, he served as Permanent Secretary at the Office of the President, Permanent Secretary in Ministry of Lands, Regional Governments, and Religious Affairs, and Director of Lands and Surveys at the Department of Lands and Surveys. He holds a diploma on civil engineering and a bachelor on surveying and mapping sciences. So we will listen to the perspective of His Excellency in regard to NBS water management in Gambia. Please.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum and good morning to you all. Excellencies, distinguished delegations, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor on behalf of the Honorable Minister of Fisheries, Water Resources and National Assembly Matters, who unavoidably could not be with us here, to address you today at this important session on nature-based solution for sustainable water systems. I thank the organizers for putting this theme at the center of Cairo Water Week 2025, because security in Africa depends not only in infrastructure, but also on the health of our ecosystem. In the Gambia, our water resources faces pressures from climate variability, urbanization, and land degradation. We know that engineering solution alone cannot meet these challenges. That is why we are embracing nature-based solution as a core strategy for resilient and sustainable development. Allow me to share a few examples from the Gambia. With the support from the World Bank through the West African Coastal Area Resilient Investment Project, WACA, we are restoring the Kotu stream in one of the most densely populated parts of our capital. This intervention reduces floods, improves water quality, and creates greener community spaces, demonstrating that nature-based solutions can work efficiently and effectively in urban settings. At the policy level, the Gambia has developed its first ever national land policy and is reviewing the Physical Planning Act. Both reforms put nature-based solutions as center, ensuring that land use, urban growth, and water management are harmonized with ecosystem protection and climate adaptation. Also, through the GEF6 land seascape planning and the ecosystem restoration project, we are restoring degraded lands, inland and coastal systems, while protecting and promoting sustainable land use practices that ensure both water and biodiversity. Climate-smart rural waste development project under my ministry is helping communities to adopt climate-resilient approaches to water supply, sanitation, and hygiene. By improving water conservation, strengthening rural water systems, and integrating nature-based solutions into community waste infrastructures, it reduces vulnerability while improving health and livelihood. Taking through these initiatives shows that nature-based solutions are no longer peripheral in Gambia. They are becoming central to how we manage water, land, and ecosystems. They deliver multiple benefits: protect wetlands, improve food and water security, supporting biodiversity, and building resilience to climate shocks. Looking forward to we see three priorities for scaling up actions. One is mainstreaming nature-based solutions into all water, land, and climate policies, making them integral to governance and planning. Second, to expand financing and partnership to take nature-based solutions from pilots to nationwide implementation. And lastly, strengthening community ownership, ensuring that local knowledge and participation drive sustainable outcomes. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, though the Gambia is a small country, our experience demonstrates that nature-based solutions can deliver big impact from urban streams to coastal wetlands to rural water systems. By working with nature, we are not only managing water more sustainably, but also safeguarding our future. Finally, let us use this Cairo Water Week to commit scaling up nature-based solutions across Africa and the world at large, ensuring that our water systems remain resilient, inclusive, and sustainable for generations to come. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for sharing your insights, your experience, and also how you are making things happen on the ground from cooperation perspective, but also from interventions on the ground, and also being inclusive. Probably I will have a question to probably let us learn more about some of your interventions, but I think His Excellency Ambassador Berik has another commitment, so he will leave us. So thank you very much again, and under your applause, please, we will thank him for being with us. Thank you very much. Thank you. So, Your Excellency, Mr. Buba, thank you very much again for sharing your experience and also your perspective. You mentioned something very important in your intervention about local communities. I think it's very important when it comes to long-lasting NBS interventions. So how is the Gambia ensuring that local communities and their knowledge are included in the planning, but also in the running of any NBS project or intervention?
Thank you very much. The Gambia uses what we call water committees at the local level. Every project from the inception, we will create what we call water committees at this local level so that the local knowledge is tapped into and their participation and ownership is used. And also in the Gambia, we have a decentralization that has parallel structures at the local level. That is the office of the governor at the head of the region representing government, but also we have a council that is representing development. And under the council, you have what we call the ward development committee. And then we also have a village development committee at the local level. This is a development structure. But then we have also got the administrative structure running parallel with them, which is the governor as the head of administration and the district head as the chief and the village head as the alkali. So these structures are utilized from the beginning so that whilst you are planning and also implementing such issues that are associated with the implementation are easily addressed. And this committee also work towards the sustainability of this project because our ministry is intervening on social intervention. That means we provide water for the local community free of charge. So as such, we have to find a way for them to sort of own this for sustainability. So this water committee will also open an account where these communities will contribute towards that so that they can sustain the system. But they will also give you the local knowledge of the environment where there could be possible problems in terms of pollution to the borehole that you might drill for them. So they will bring these things out and then they will work with the engineers at the initial stage and also along the implementation, and it will be handed over to them for management and maintenance.
Very interesting. Thank you very much. Very interesting how you are kind of decentralizing water management and connecting this with the local, including local communities in the setup, but also making sure that the projects and interventions, including NBS, are available. Thank you very much. I'm sure we will have a chance to learn more about how you look at things, and also how you are implementing NBS and water management in sustainable way in Gambia. Thank you. So now we will listen to Mr. Nofel Tilahig, who is the Regional Director, Near East, North Africa and Europe Division at the International Fund for Agricultural Development, IFAD. So Mr. Nofel, he is a seasoned development professional with over 23 years of international experience in agricultural development, environmental sustainability, climate resilience, and rural transformation. Previously, he was the head of IFAD's multi-country office for North Africa and Eastern Europe countries, and IFAD's country director for multiple countries. So he led the development of strategic partnerships, managing large portfolio, engaging in policy investments and investment initiatives, and contributing to rural poverty reduction. So Mr. Tilahig, we will listen to your perspective from IFAD angle in terms of NBS intervention in the region, please. Under your applause, please.
Good morning, Sabah al-Khair. It's a big pleasure for me to be here today and to present for you IFAD's experience in terms of MBS and how we do integrate that in policy and in operations. So I have a short PowerPoint presentation which I'd like to share with you, starting with or setting the scene at the global, scale of things. If we look at the challenges today, the most, I think, important challenge, at least for agriculture, is water availability. 2.3 billion people are in water-stressed countries today. The Arab region, which is hosting 6% of the global population, has access to only 1%, even less. I've seen in some documents even less than 1% of the world freshwater resources. And if you look at agriculture in this region, it uses most of the water actually available, which is above 83%. This is going to be even worse in the future because we expect the climate change to reduce water availability by 10 to 30% in arid regions. Arid regions in the Arab world receive an average between 200, 300 millimeters per year. That means 200 liters of water per square meter, which is very, very little. If you look at the needs of crops, of livestock, and people as well, because fresh water also covers drinking water. So challenges are very important. Adding to this, there is the challenge of biodiversity loss at global scale, and I think UNEP estimates at 1 million the number of species in terms of plants and animals that will go extinct or they are at risk of extinction. So the challenges are enormous at large scale, especially for the NAN region. So ecosystem restoration and agroforestry and MBS techniques become crucial in this configuration where we have increased risk of floods, droughts, and water availability at large. And every drop counts here in the ecosystem. So if you look at techniques like agroforestry, we have evidence that they can reduce runoff by 20 to 50% even in some cases. They can reduce soil erosion, they can reduce salinity, they can increase infiltration of water into the underground water tables. And by doing that, they can enhance, of course, the resilience to heavy rain. Vegetation cover can protect fields and crops and even livelihood systems against floods. Flash floods are becoming more frequent. Recently, you see in the news more and more that they are becoming more frequent, and that's one way to tackle that issue. And one efficient way, cost-efficient way, is to increase the vegetation cover. IFAD is actively engaged. IFAD has been working on climate change for quite a long time now, and I had the chance and the honor to lead the first, actually, climate change project in IFAD. If my memory serves, that was an LDCF project in Togo. And we started from then building the case for climate investment, and then MBS came in with all what it entails in terms of also biodiversity conservation, which is the latest, let's say, add-on in terms of priorities. However, MBS is not an add-on in IFAD operation. It's now a core business. It's a core investment in our strategies and in our projects. So we're looking at scalable ecosystem approaches that we can support through the IFAD investment. You know, IFAD is an IFI. It's the only IFI of the UN system. It's the only bank somehow of the UN system. And we do invest through sovereign lending mainly. So the idea is that we mainstream these approaches through the portfolio. If we look at IFAD commitment in this area, these are the commitments that we gave to our board, is that 45% of our resources are dedicated to climate finance. This is IFAD 13, of course. IFAD 13 is the 13th cycle of replenishment, which is the current period until 2027. 30% of climate finance will go to support MBS. This is a huge commitment, and we are tracking this quite precisely throughout our systems. And we track it in terms of money and dollars as well. So every single dollar going to the investment, we are able to track it from the project costing and the implementation. And in this let's say, strategy, we do focus a lot on water management. It's really at the center of what we do, because we know that water management is at the center of agricultural productivity and rural livelihoods and rural transformation as well. And in that prioritization, we are looking at efficiency in particular. As I said, every drop of water counts, and so the priority is really to prioritize efficiency. How are we doing so far? I think IFAD is progressing quite well. We are on track to meet our 30% climate finance by 2030. And we are also on track to meet our MBS-driven finance. We are at 87% of the target. The major focus in these targets is crop management and agroforestry and water use efficiency, as I said. Okay, now if we focus on the fragile context itself, fragility often is driven by environmental degradation, by lack of water, by environmental challenges on the ground. So IFAD has, you know, a specific focus on fragility and has specific tools to work on fragility. And our approach is more about prevention and to increase resilience. So these are the principles that are guiding our intervention in fragile context. So in this context, MBS will help to reduce the competition over resources, which is a source of tension in many cases, and security and conflict, and migration, sorry. And to restore these degraded ecosystems, there are many ways to do it, and we have very successful experiences. If you look at the Sahel today, the half-moons techniques, we've used it in Niger, in Mali, and other places, and we were able to recover thousands of hectares of land and to restore the local ecosystems. We've seen even wildlife coming back in many of these countries. Examples here, I have the example from Sudan, the Butana Sudan project in Sudan. There was a huge, let's say, challenge in terms of how farmers and pastoralists will work together. So the usual conflict between agriculture production and livestock, the transhumance routes, and all that. So IFAD worked with the government of Sudan, and we tried to structure this from an institutional point of view. So you have the village committees looking at plans on how to plan together the resources, how we use land in the best way, how we solve the conflict through legal instruments as well. So you see people that have dispute-free certificate to access land. So they have the title to access the land, and that has clarified a lot of issues. Then you have also transhumance routes that were marked very well. There was a creation of a local fund for Butana, which used to protect, for example, rangelands. 1 million faddans were protected under this project. So it was a link between institutional and also investment, which worked very well in this case. So these are examples that we can scale up, and they have been scaled up in many cases. Measuring very quickly, IFAD has a very solid result-based system where we measure quite precisely, and we verify also against control groups and control systems in place to verify the data on the ground as well. We do use also things like remote sensing, GIS. We We have partnership with the European Space Agency, with Airbus Industries, and we do use it actually to monitor what happens in the ground. We do focus on that, on hydrological, for example, modeling. We do it in the watershed basin when we do the watershed rehabilitation in many projects. In Kenya, for example, MBS worked to show the benefit, and that benefit we factor in the economic benefit, which in Kenya, for example, show that there is a cost benefit of 1.5 to 2%. These are integrated in the economic and financial analysis. So you see the sequence when we do a design, we take the data from the ground, we cross-check with data from remote sensing and others. We look at the farming models and we factor everything in economic and financial analysis to come up with the internal rate of return of the project, which we keep monitoring as well during implementation. So we need to make sure that these are sustainable from a financial point of view as well. Key messages very quickly. MBS are cost-effective and scalable climate finance investments, especially when you focus on water management, as I said, as a main driver in the ecosystem. Improve soil, because it improves soil moisture, enhances infiltration, increasing efficiency of irrigation, grazing systems, as I said in the Sudan examples, how we integrate them, deliver great water availability to the farmers, etc. So I will not go into more details here. Then there are some examples of IFAD livestock and pasture development project in Tajikistan, where we used livestock, actually pasture associations, they call them, to also improve the grazing techniques and access to rangelands in the country. Promoting NBS in Egypt, we have used it also. I wanted to focus a little bit on Egypt because we have used some good techniques, for example, NBS and mechanized raised bed experience for wheat yields and wheat production, which has increased the wheat yields by 25%. Scaling irrigation innovations also in the Crown project. This is a new project that we are trying to implement with the government of Egypt as soon as possible, I hope. It's approved by IFAD, but now we are trying to finish the final steps to its implementation. And the idea there is to inject all these technologies that will help in saving water and water efficiency. So raised beds, as I said, drip irrigation, controlled drainage, looking at salinity, etc. Economic and environmental impact, I mentioned that, so I will not go back to that, but we have seen a clear impact on the yields and also on the return to the farmers. Traditional knowledge, I think it was mentioned by one of my colleagues who intervened before. It's very important to build on the traditional knowledge. People know what works and what not, and they know. And here there's a very good connection between nature and what people know in the ground. And if you allow me, Yusuf, to take just 2 minutes, because I have a very nice anecdote from the time when I was working in Mali, in the Mopti region. This is the delta in Mali. Some of you maybe they know. There was an old man in the delta who used to predict precisely the rainfall for the next season. And people were actually wondering how he was managing to do that. And every time it was very precise. So he would tell farmers, next year is going to be raining, the year after is not, etc. Every year he was able to do it for many, many, many years. So people really started to believe him, and they thought he had some superpower that he was using from the sky or something else. And he became very rich at the end of the day because people were offering him every time a lot of, of their crops and everything. So the man died after so many years, and his son did the same, was predicting very precisely the rain for this next season. So people started to wonder there was something else, or he had transferred some knowledge to his son. After many years, the secret came out. In fact, the old man was watching simply nature, and he was watching the birds where they were nesting every year. Were they nesting low? Were they nesting high in the trees? So if they were nesting low, meaning the water is not going to come up very high, and it's not going to be raining a lot that season. And if they nested high, meaning the season will be rainy. So you see, this is a very nice example how people can use nature and local knowledge as well to predict. With maybe sophisticated tools today, we combine with local knowledge. I think even ChatGPT cannot predict it that well. Okay, last point here is empowering the communities to lead the MBS. I think this is really central part of all what we will do. Everything has to start from the local community. The local community is the owner of the land, of the water, of the ecosystem. So everything has to be no top-down solution, and everything has to be discussed. As I gave the example of Sudan, this is applicable everywhere. So anything that we do without agreement, without ownership from the local community will not work. We have noticed also in IFAD experience that if you engage more women and youth, you have better sustainability, you have better results, because I think they have a great potential in what they do and how they manage resources, and to include them in the governance structure, to include women, for example, in the decision-making process at the local level, it's very important, because you can engage them in the decision and in the implementation after that. Policy, very quickly, I think also this is the link between let's say, the top to the down. If there is no policy also, there is no enabling environment, there are no enabling policies for land rights, for access to finance, access to technology, assets. I think all that will have to come together in one package. So the work is cross-cutting, basically, from strategic to operation, to project, to law, to grassroots level. With that, I come to this beautiful picture which I took in Morocco. So it shows how it can be integrated. So I took this picture, if I'm not wrong, in Taza. You know very well Taza, Yusuf. So I think I took it there. And it's a nice picture because it shows how you can protect the land and you produce sustainably. With that, I thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dofel, for the very nice presentation and for sharing the experience of IFAD in this area. And I would like to hear from you on one aspect for now, which is, I mean, you have extensive experience and you implemented concrete things in different agroecological systems. And of course, you work extensively and very closely to governments. So what I would like to learn more from you about, it's about how do you work with the ministries, government agencies, to hardwire NBS? And we all know the potential resistance or reluctance or lack of understanding in some situations. So how do you act in this regard? How do you make sure that NBS is mainstreamed appropriately in your work with governments?
Thank you so much. Very good question. In fact, it's like what I reflected also on my presentation. So there's a sequence from the strategic level, then to the policy, to the operation, and then the implementation with the population in the ground. And there will need to be a very solid link between all these elements and a very clear sequence, and especially availability of funding to implement things. If we don't have the funding at the end of the day, nothing is going to happen in the ground. I think that's very important. The way IFAD does this is really building on government ownership. Government, I mean by government and its institutions, also NGOs, all the actors, and then also the local community. So when I mean all stakeholders, building on that ownership at the country level. How we do it, when we engage, IFAD of course is a UN agency, but we are also an IFI, we engage through sovereign loans in general. That's the dominant, let's say, instrument in our engagement. When we do that, we do strategies with the government, which we call the COSOP in our jargon. And when we do the COSOP, we identify the strategic pillars of our intervention in a given country. And we do it in a very consultative manner. In fact, my colleague Muhammad here, he's the head of the MCO of IFAD here in Cairo, and at the moment he's doing a COSOP for Egypt. It's really the right moment. So and before doing that COSOP, we do an evaluation, then we do the COSOP, and that COSOP highlights the key priorities. Often you see in these key priorities, MBS, climate change adaptation, resilience, that remains at strategic level. Then it gets endorsed by the government and IFAD. That's, let's say, the roadmap for the next 6-7 years. From there, now we move to the investment package. The investment package, you have allocations. So let's say there's a 60 million allocation to Egypt, on which we will work for the next 6 years through a project. Then with government, we decide where to take this investment. government. I mean, also there is Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Finance, everyone is in there. So we try to respond to the different national strategies. If you have, for example, the NDC or the National Strategy for Climate or the Vision 2030, everything is integrated in that package, which will lead to a concrete investment responding directly to the government needs. And in this respect, then we design a clear project with clear objectives, with clear funding that is implemented by one line ministry, but in also consultation with the others. So here you see the linkage between policy and investment. In some cases, we do also policy engagement, and we support countries in their, for example, engagement on food systems, or if they have a water management strategy, national one, we can support it through some non-lending, we call it instruments. So it's a package that goes together. There's also the knowledge management aspect that comes there, the communication, the monitoring and evaluation. It's a package, and then we try to put all of that in a project that works at the end of the day in the ground through concrete investment. The implementation is the responsibility of the government, but IFAD has a very solid supervision role in there, so we come often to evaluate and see what happens in the ground and also adjust the implementation. So it's a mainstreaming at the institutional level, but it's also implementation, concrete activities at the ground level that are tracked precisely. Thank you.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you. Very clear and structured approach, and as you said, clear mechanisms and also consultation with strong monitoring and evaluation. Thank you very much. Hopefully we will have a chance to go more through your experience and learnings in the next round of questions. But now I will call Mrs. Laura Berkman. She is the director of the Climate, Water and Food Security Program at the Hague Center for Strategic Studies and a member of the management team of the Water, Peace and Security Partnership with over 20 years of experience in research, policy, negotiation and diplomacy. She is uniquely positioned to tackle challenges at the intersection of climate change, security and natural resources management. She is a former Fulbright and Huygens Scholar. Laura holds degrees from Harvard University and the University of Amsterdam and University of St. Andrews, and she received Luxembourg Peace Prize for Outstanding Environmental Peace in 2020 and 2021, and she will link nature-based solutions and peace in her intervention. Mrs. Laura, please, the floor is yours. Under your applause, please.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you to our kind host, the Egyptian government, for this wonderful conference. It's really a pleasure to be here. Let's quickly open this. All right, so nature-based solutions, an opportunity for water and peace. So basically, I want to hopefully quite quickly go through a few steps on how you can look at nature-based solution as this opportunity. I'll first go through the challenge. I think it's been discussed before, but I think it's important to have it sharp. Then the opportunity, then an approach, and then some action ideas. So why does it matter? Why is it important that we look at nature-based solutions as an opportunity for peace? Well, we all know, and it's been mentioned in various sessions, that environmental risks are rising in severity. You know, the World Economic Forum publishes this global risk report every year, and environmental risks consistently rank among the highest global risks, especially in the long term. You see those green boxes, those are all environmental risks. And this is not something that's new, this is something that has been ranking high since the onset of these reports. Water is also a gateway to broader risks. We see that increased water stress can enhance perceived competition over water resources at all scales. We also see that competition can facilitate water-related instability and conflict, but also foster cooperation based on a range of intervening factors. So without going into those details now, you basically need to understand that if there is water-related instability, there's always other factors that make that instability worse, and they are usually social, political, economic, and ecological, technological, security, cultural, etc. So there are many, many more factors that we need to take into consideration. Here's a map of a global early warning tool that shows how water-related risks and security risks come together. And as you can see on this map, they are quite significant. This is a global early warning tool. I'll go into it a little bit more in a minute when I discuss an approach. But it does provide us with a very useful sort of early idea, an early warning of how water-related risk could lead to instability and even conflict. On the map you see yellow, which is basically what we call ongoing conflict, conflict being defined as 10 fatalities or more. And the orange is where things are emerging and really sort of getting worse. I'll go into that in a bit, but I just wanted to show it to you here to underpin the relevance of really looking at that nexus. So making the case for nature-based solution as an opportunity for peace. Nature-based solutions and peace basically ask the question, okay, how can we ensure that in the long term, nature-based solutions could really support societal resilience, ecological resilience? And an important way to do this is by rainfall regeneration. I have had the good fortune to talk to many different, very innovative organizations that are looking at these kinds of issues. And basically, one of them, called the Weather Makers, has been actively looking at very sort of hands-on means to restore the water cycle to bring sustained rainfall. In this vision that they have, water becomes the foundation for ecological regeneration, local livelihoods, and lasting peace. Their main challenge, however, lies in this long-term horizon and investment intensity of rainfall restoration. It takes time before the benefits fully materialize. Therefore, what has been increasingly understood as both a very sound financial but also practical entry point to realize nature-based solutions is to look at wetlands. And wetlands restoration as an entry point already has some immediate opportunities. It can stimulate water cycles locally and offer some immediate co-benefits. They reduce ecosystem stress, they increase photosynthesis and productivity, and they provide water and food resources for nearby communities. So here it's illustrated in a nice sort of visual way. You see that the weather makers aim to temporarily stimulate the water cycle through natural processes by making landscape regeneration achievable within a single generation. That's the idea. And so through strategic evaporation, especially evaporative cooling as they call it, they create climatic conditions that would naturally emerge once rainfall returns. This approach reduces stress in both the landscape and local communities, helping to lay the groundwork for long-term ecological discovery. So the direct benefits with strategic evaporation shows that scaling can start with small local initiatives, such as wetland restoration projects, and by strategically enhancing evaporation, immediate benefits can be achieved, relieving environmental stress, increasing photosynthesis, and triggering natural expansion. And this project structure can be designed so that carbon finance can, for example, fully fund the initial phase, while co-benefits directly support local communities. And this creates, in turn, the motivation and ownership on the ground, accelerating progress towards large-scale generation. So I just wanted to show this example because there is a lot of discussion and contemplation about how to really, enter into this nature-based solutions in a way, also for financing purposes, that can get things moving. And this Weathermakers Foundation has really, I think, nailed the head of combining short-term versus long-term ambition in this regard. But now on to how to embed nature-based solutions for peace. There is what we call there are a plethora of programs and projects that really look at how to better think about supporting water-related risk challenges with societal resilience. And one such program that I've been involved with for many years now, since 2018, is called the Water, Peace and Security Partnership. And the mission of this partnership is to turn vicious cycles of water and conflict into virtuous cycles of water-based peace and cooperation. Here you see what this vicious cycle look like. You have a water-related challenge, and that leads to unsustainable water management under challenging conditions, under poor conditions, which can further deteriorate into competition and disagreement, and finally, if that's not addressed, into conflict. And what we try and do is really intervene so that that cycle is reversed, right? You go from a water-related challenge to effective water management that will lead to more cooperation and exchange and ultimately foster sustainability, peace, and development. And we do this through what we call an integrated approach that is informed and inclusive. We have the Global Early Warning Tool that I mentioned, which is a very important entry point to understand geographically where water-related risk can turn into an instability or even a conflict risk. And from that point, we understand that we need to start investigating further. So it's not that those early warning instruments are the end point or our full sort of picture of what is happening. No, they are the starting point for us to investigate further with local communities what is exactly going on the ground. And that brings us to what we call regional and local tools and engagement, which really are about co-owning and co-developing measures, instruments, approaches with the communities affected by those water-related risks to ensure that you develop conflict-sensitive water management, support conflict resolution if it's needed, and support building water and conflict resilience. So this is it in a nutshell. We have 4 pillars: understand, mobilize, learn, and dialogue, and they feed into each other, basically. So as I mentioned, we have the tooling that help us understand and anticipate risks where these issues are evolving. Then we mobilize to ensure that we can act on those risks and make effective interventions with the right players and the right stakeholders. Then we try and design, or we do design, practitioner capacity together with actors that are relevant in those situations. And finally, and very much essentially, we facilitate dialogues to foster cooperation and trust where that's necessary. So here you see some of the areas that we've been sort of driving more multi-year engagements. That would be at the moment in Mali and in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Iraq, but we've also worked in Chad and Niger, and we've supported other organizations in the MENA, for example, the International Red Cross, on really supporting their local work in countries like Iran and Yemen and Jordan as well. So 5 takeaways, bringing it all back to nature-based solutions. Shared water builds cooperation. Wetlands and rivers enhance water security, flood control, and livelihoods, fostering trust and cooperation. Second, healthy ecosystems reduce water stress and conflict risks. Protecting wetlands reduces drought, floods, and tension while restoring long-term resilience. I should mention that in our Water, Peace, and Security Partnership, we are working with different organizations that come with different levels of expertise. And specifically on wetlands, we're working with Wetlands International that, of course, have a huge base of knowledge on how to do this most effectively. Nature-based solutions, third point, create jobs and shared prosperity. Wetlands restoration generates immediate livelihood opportunities and ensures fair benefit sharing that rewards peace. Fourth, inclusive nature-based solutions build trust and dialogue. Community-led nature-based solutions strengthen dialogue, equity, and collaboration across groups. And finally, good governance sustains peace. Right-based, transparent safeguards make peace through nature and long-term sustainability possible. So, to wrap it all up, we need to think about nature-based solutions not just in terms of the ecological and the sustainability aspects that, of course, are extremely important, but also in terms of what they can do to really foster peace and foster sustainable use of water among groups that may be already in situations where there's competition or otherwise stress in the social systems. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mrs. Laura, for your nice presentation and also very comprehensive perspective and interesting linkage. Actually, at EMI, we are in the process of mainstreaming nature-based solutions in diverse aspects. I mean, technical, biophysical aspect like mitigating salinity, restoring river beds, providing solutions or response to water quality issues, etc. But we're also looking at the role of nature-based solutions in conflict-affected areas by, for example, reducing the disaster risks, for example, drought, floods, etc., etc. And I was very interested by your way of looking at things. And from this angle, I would like to hear from you more about how can governments and development partners embed conflict-sensitive safeguards like those used in the WPS, Water, Peace and Security approach into national or also transboundary water and climate policies to ensure that NBS are truly contributing to peace.
No, thank you for the question. Let me see how I turn this. If this is on? Yes, this is on. So thank you for the question. Yes, so safeguards, of course, refer to policies, principles, and mechanisms that ensure nature-based solutions are implemented in a conflict-sensitive, right-based, and transparent way. And in terms of conflict-sensitive, nature-based solutions, I would say that what we need is, these safeguards to really keep them genuinely peaceful and inclusive, to turn them, let me say it differently, to turn ecological restorations into a platform for justice and cooperation rather than new forms of exclusion. So you really want to make sure that water and ecosystems are not just environmental issues, but also social and political issues, so that governments can integrate conflict sensitivity accordingly. And they can do this by applying early warning and risk analysis tools, similar to the ones that I just mentioned, to identify where ecological degradation overlaps with social tension, and then investigates what these dynamics are on the ground through local engagement activities. But they can also think about institutionalizing more inclusive governance. This was mentioned also by some of the former speakers. So then ensuring that women, youth, and marginalized users participate in decision-making about land and water restoration. Finally, it's very important that policies, and this is a very challenging point, policies should be better aligned across sectors. So water, agriculture, environmental sort of policies, and peace building, because unless that happens, nature-based solutions will not be implemented under a single coherent, conflict-aware framework. And development partners, of course, can support this also by financing those nature-based solutions that include these right-based safeguards and more transparent monitoring systems. And so then, if you have those, from governments, but also from the donor communities, those things aligned, the chances are much higher that those nature-based solutions can be integrated early on and also be really a force to support those conflict-sensitive ambitions that you should uphold. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully we'll have a chance to go more through more details in the before the end of this session. Thank you. So now we will go to Professor Zhang. She is a professor in the Research Center on Floods and Drought Disaster Reduction in China Institute of Water Resources and Hydropower Research. She got her PhD in Environmental Sciences, Peking University in China, and a Certificate of International Leadership Program from Waseda University in Japan. She is doing research in integrated flood risk management, flood or flash flood disaster forecasts, early warning systems. She led a lot of projects. She published 20 academic papers and 4 books, and she is a reviewer of specialized journals. And she will take us to the other parts of the world to learn about her work and the results in flash floods and NBS. Please, Professor. Under your applause, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Well, it is a very, I'm feeling so proud to be here, actually. So sharing some of the Chinese experiences of flash flood disaster management. So today, I'm going to talk about the community-based flash flood disaster monitoring and early warning in China. Okay, I'm going to go through from the 3 parts. So first, some general introductions of the global situation. So we all know that the flood disaster actually is quite serious globally. So from the numbers on the right side, you can see that the flood, including a rainstorm floods, accounting for 63 of all natural disasters. So flash floods accounts for all floods, whatever the disaster events, the disaster losses, and the disaster death toll has all been very dangerous. So on the left side is a map of the global flood issues. So from this map, we can see the flood happens actually everywhere globally. So flood is the highest impact in Asia, well, accounting for 35%. And according to our statistics, it mainly affected the most serious country actually is China. Yes, as for the flash flood disaster issues, we have many kind of examples, such as in Germany, in China, in Korea, in Canada. So we know that the flash flood is a kind of have very high velocity and is a kind of sudden issues. So the losses basically are life losses and economic losses. So a great challenge is for the flash flood disaster prevention, actually to do the disaster monitoring and early warning and the community-based prevention. As a result, actually in China, we can say since 2003, we initiated our National Flash Flood Disaster Prevention Plan, which formed the framework of the whole flash flood disaster prevention. So later on, we have our methodologies, we have forming the whole system, we have adding the river training with some nature-based solutions. So finally, it comes to our capacity improvement, capacity situation right now, and which is our 5th stages. So up to now, the total investment actually for the flash flood disaster prevention is over 42 billion in Chinese dollars, which is equally to about 6 or 7 billion dollars. Actually, the project basically is about the flash flood investigation and assessment, the monitoring system development, the warning system, and some platform development and community-based systems. Second is about the flash flood monitoring and early warning. So in China, in 2023, we promote the theory of the 3 lines of defense. So the first line is to using some X-band radar or the satellite to get the meteorological forecast data. So that is the first line. We use the first line to do our monitoring and early warning. So our second line is to use some automatic monitoring stations. So we have many kind of observed data. So we use this kind of data to do the monitoring and early warning. So the third line of defense actually is the on-site monitoring and early warning. So it would connect it with the people's household so that the people will be easily evacuated. So that is the 3 lines of defense for flash flood disaster monitoring and early warning. Yeah, this is the layout of the flash flood monitoring and early warning framework. So on the left side, you can see it is our specialized monitoring and early warning system, such as platform and some professional rain gauge stations. And on the right side is our community-based prevention system, which was carried out actually by the general public. This is a kind of whole procedure, so I'm going to introduce. So for a kind of rainfall, what's happened? Actually, our monitoring stations will receive our rainfall information. So this kind of information will be transmitted to our platform. And when the platform, each of the village will have a threshold. When a kind of rainfall is higher than the threshold, then it will be the warning. So on the one hand, the platform will send the early warning information to the general public or to the responsibility people through the text messages or the broadcasting stations. On the one hand, the warning information will be sent to the higher level government, such as a provincial level or the national level, so that for the national level, we know all kinds of situations of this kind of events, and for the community-based level, they will know when they will be evacuated. Okay, next page is about the warning procedures. So just now, I'm going to this kind of general procedure of the whole systems. So in China, actually, we divided it into 7 stages for the national, provincial, city, county, township, and village level. So each of the warning information will be disseminated one by one. And we also have 3 kinds of monitor forecast. So the first one is forecast and warning, which was rely basically on the meteorological data. So we will be noticed ahead of 24 hours or 6 hours to know that. Yeah, that is basically based on the first line of defense. That is basically on the X-band radar or some forecast data. And for the second line is about the monitoring and the warning. So the monitoring and the warning, basically it is on the monitoring stations. So we have many monitoring stations, and we will disseminate this kind of information to the local level. So the third is about the on-site warning, such as using sound and some other ways to make people be evacuated. So whatever this kind of three approaches, actually it was linked with the village level responsibility person, so that the people will be noticed by all these kind of informations. This is a typical example of a typical village level warning message delivery. So we usually call it guarantee system. So for the leader of a kind of village, actually he is responsible for the whole evacuation of the disaster. And each of the village will be divided into several grades, such as the first grade, the 5th grade, the 20th grade. So each of the grade will have a great leader. So this kind of great leader actually is responsible for the evacuation of people. So when he or she receives this kind of warning messages, he will notice people door to door to let people be evacuated. So sometimes we will think, if our early warning platform form failed, then people cannot receive this kind of information, so what should we do? Actually, we will have our on-site monitoring and warning to connect it with people's house. And if this kind of monitoring facility is failed, we still have our community-based evacuation method, which has been shown on the picture. We use the traditional guns actually to notice the people. This is some warning message delivery I just mentioned. So on the left side actually is the automatic rain gauge and water stage stations. It was connected with people's household so that people in the house can know what is the threshold of it and when it will be a warning. So on the right side actually is the broadcasting stations. It was very small and people can make, it is a kind of you can carry it to everywhere. Actually, this is sometimes you can use it as a broadcasting stations, but when it has a kind of early warning, it can be used as a broadcasting stations actually. Yeah, this is some new message. This is some new ways to help the message delivery and feedback. For example, we use the location-based service. This is a kind of early warning information, and also we have the warning application to do it. So finally, I just want to share some of the numbers, which is also the disaster mitigation benefits. Well, since 2012, the recorded typical flash flood disasters, actually we have over 900%. And the county level flash flood disaster warning dissemination is over 11 million. And the warning messages deliveries for local responsible persons actually is over than 280 million. So the warning messages delivery for the general public is over 5 billion. So that so we can see that the disaster mitigation benefits actually is a lot. So finally, let's briefly talking about our future. So looking into the future, we have our big data, we have our big models, and we have very good mechanisms of cooperation, whatever for globally and for the intercountry. So we must to advancing our technologies and to make our mitigation go into to advancing the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and sustainable development so that we can mitigate our disasters and helping more and more people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Zhang, for the Very interesting, nice presentation, but also interesting work. It was interesting how you are advancing the methods, the tools to predict, but also to deliver the warning and mitigate risk using also traditional methods, which is very, very interesting. And I noted also your belief in the importance of combining all these technologies with nature-based solutions. And I would like to come back to this point, if you may allow me, and if you can elaborate a little bit more on how all these methods and approaches based on data and warning can be integrated with nature-based solutions. And if you can also give just one case for the sake of time, it will be very helpful. Please.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Actually, in China, I think we always adhere to the policy of combining the non-engineering solutions with the engineering solutions. So in China's mountainous areas, actually we have many kind of flash flood gullies. So we have the river training project. So the river training project will mix our natural-based solutions to some engineering works, such as we can use some methods to make the revetment and the slope protection methods. And we have some wetland to retention the flood and to basically to integrate the nature-based solutions with the flood management. So in China's flash flood disaster prevention, actually we put forward the theory of watershed governance. So yeah, I will give you one example or several examples. This is the first one is about the soil and water conservation project in China's lowest plateau. Actually, we convert the cropland to forest and make the wetland restoration and combining with some rainfall and monitoring, and water stage monitoring stations. So by this way, we combine the monitoring with some ecological restoration works. So the second one actually is about the sponge city. Actually, we are very familiar with the sponge city, right? So the sponge city or the sponge villages, actually you can connect it with the we can use it in the mountainous areas. So yeah, I think basically it's about actually we also have some pilot projects. Yeah, so maybe in the future if we have chance we can discuss later about it. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Professor, for the examples and very interesting, amazing work. And I'm saying that because we know, and I know how difficult and how also impactful to combine nature-based solutions with cutting-edge information. IMI is also active in this regard, so we are in the process of also implementing another project to see how we can combine nature-based solutions and early warning systems to mitigate, for example, sand and dust storms in the Middle East with the support of FCDO. So I'm sure we'll have more discussions in this regard. I don't know how we are doing with time. Okay, perfect. So initially we planned to have probably an interactive session, but at least you know what these amazing organizations, governments, and cooperation agencies are doing. So I invite you to interact with them. Personally, I enjoyed a lot, and I congratulate you for what you are doing. As I said, at IMI, we are also in this angle, and we are trying to push the NBS agenda in the world, including in MENA. And I have a lot of colleagues working in this project here with me in the room. I'm sure they will be happy to provide more results and more evidences that we achieved so far. Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation is also very active in the NBS agenda. They are working with, of course, with IFAD, with IMI and other organizations to advocate and also show the real benefits of NBS. So I would like to ask from you to applaud with me the speakers for the shared experiences and results first. And on behalf of the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, IMI, I would like to thank you, of course, for your participation and interest. I would like also to thank the technical team, interpretation. You have had chance to many accents today from the world, so thank you for your effort. And thank you. See you in the next session. Thank you very much.